Meet Your Maker is a first-person based raiding game set in a dusky, brutal, Mad Max-esque post-apocalyptic wasteland.
Couldn't believe those fools did it.
This game was developed and published by Canada's largest independent company, Behaviour Interactive. Behaviour has been around for about 30 years now and has worked on various games as a partner, but is probably most well known for their asymmetrical multiplayer game, Dead by Daylight. Some of those horror elements are passed over, such as the gore and violence, which are felt in the designs of this game. It gives it a grungy tech brutalist style that I kind of just want to describe as ugly, but when I say ugly, I don't really mean it in a negative sense at all. It's just designed to give you an unpleasant feeling when you look at it, and I think that's exactly what they were trying to pull off. So the premise of this game is you're trying to retrieve GenMat from raider bases, as well as defending your own supply of GenMat. Now the reason you want this GenMat is to feed it to your creepy chimera fetus that I guess is supposed to be the savior of humanity. I feel a little sus about that, but I guess we'll see how that plays out over time. Now since you want to defend your GenMat and steal GenMat from other people, that leads to two different gameplay types found in this game. Raider and Builder, which are both accessed via your control room. When playing as Raider, the game feels nice, quick, and snappy. This game gives me the same feeling as playing a very brutal Portal, but with a quick respawn system found in something like Super Meat Boy. This makes you keep throwing your head at the wall and at an extremely fast pace that just gets quite frankly addicting. When you die, it also lets you know what trap or guard killed you, so you can kind of plan out your next attack as you're doing your walk of shame back.
I knew I had a bunch of them on me.
To me, this raiding section is actually the better half of the game. I really enjoy solving the puzzle of the enemy base and just trying to crawl through them. It reminded me of playing Portal back in the day, only you have a lot more tools in your arsenal. They equip you with a primary weapon, a melee weapon, and 2 equipment slots. This primary weapon can be used to shoot and destroy traps, as well as the guards, and there's different variants of it, so some are made better to take care of traps, and some have more ammo in them to help you weed out the guards. The melee weapon's a little bit similar too. There's a couple different variants. You can have a quick melee weapon to let you quickly destroy traps and even parry ranged projectiles, which is pretty useful. But you can also get a much slower one that's able to break through armor and has a larger swing range. The 2 equipment slots you're given let you carry expendable items. These items can range from grenades, a shield that lets you absorb a hit, or even a waypoint flag. But by far the best thing is something you're given by default, and that's your grappling hook. This allows you to Spider-Man all over the place at a very quick pace and move around the map with amazing freedom. But unfortunately, while you have this amazing freedom of movement, most bases seem to be designed around restricting your movement. And while the respawn system is pretty quick, it can be frustrating at times because it may take you a while to get even deeply into a base, and then just to die and have to start all over again can be really rough sometimes.
Soul crushing. Absolutely soul crushing.
Now this burden can be mitigated by the use of the checkpoint items, such as the wave flag, but these do cost resources, and if you're constantly wasting your money on them, you're going to be limited on upgrades.
How are they shooting me like this?
This can also be further mitigated by playing co-op mode. In co-op, if one person dies, the second person can go and resurrect them, and then they continue moving on. Because of this, I feel like co-op makes the game significantly easier. It's actually kind of the reason why I've avoided playing co-op to begin with. Well, other than the fact that I don't have any friends. But I could if you subscribe to the channel. But the raiding is super fun though, and it's pretty quick and easy to pick up and play. They also let you pick the difficulty of the base you want to go into, so you can control how much you really want to torture yourself or how long you really want to play. The second gameplay type is the base building, which is where I spent the least amount of time, which I also feel takes the longest amount of time in order to set up a base. There is a bit of a learning curve because you have to get used to all the buttons in the builder mode, but kind of once you get the bases down, it's super straightforward and somewhat easy to do. Now they do slowly ease you into the builder mode by having you build a small base, and it seems to be designed to have you build a small base and then slowly build it up over time, which is pretty good. However, I found that once you get to a certain point, you just would rather scrap your smaller base and then just jump right into making a big one. I feel like it may take an hour or so maybe to set up a small base depending on how much detail you want to go into, but I feel like a bigger base, if you really want to make it tricky and hard, could really take a big time investment. Now they do put some guardrails on the bases to make sure you don't make anything that's broken or unsolvable. The first thing they do is limit the amount of resources you can put in at a time, so let's say you start around 1k. Each builder block requires about 1 unit, and then each trap and guard will cost various amounts of points to use, and you can even use more points to further augment them. These augments have a wide range of variability. Like for traps, you can have them only trigger after the GenMat is taken and they're trying to do their escape, so you have some extra traps that are activated when they're trying to leave, as well as you can also add things like making projectiles track or having like bigger blast ranges, all kinds of stuff. This even goes for the guards as well. You can give them like body armor, they can have better aim and accuracy, they can even pace around certain routes to defend them, lots of different stuff. The problem is though, if you start investing in these augments, it's going to quickly go through your resources. Thankfully, a lot of the aesthetic stuff like stickers and paint and lights don't take up any resources, but the lights do take up a block surface, and I feel like they take a little too long to set up, which is probably why you don't see a lot of bases use them too much. Usually you just see people change the variations of the blocks to cause different aesthetics. One of the issues I have with the resource system is when you load up a brand new map from the jump, there's already a lot of random builder blocks set, as well as permanent blocks all over. Now I get the purpose, they want to help you give like a foundation, so you have something to start build off of, like a scaffolding I guess.
Oh.
But if you have something very specific in mind, it can take a while to clear out all these extra blocks.
But it's lower down back.
Now it may have been a feature I didn't notice, but I think it would be great if there's different tiers of how you could start out, like have one that's just purely blank with 0 resources spent, and then variations of it having some blocks to maybe even having some basic traps to help you get started. Now the second way they balance bases is the little homie.
Sometimes little homie just really gets me.
This little guy has to be able to start from the starting point and walk all the way to the gen mat and walk back. He doesn't trigger traps or guards, but he still has to be able to waltz up to it safely. This is good because it means you can't completely wall off your gen mat or put it in a specific way to where there would be no escape or no way to access it. The problem is it can restrict you at times. For example, you can't really do a true floor is lava platforming section because he can't really walk through lava at all. Maybe there's a smarter way to do it and I'm just not creative to do it, but it seems like a limitation here. Also, if you wanted to put some kind of crazy maze in your base, it doesn't really work because then you just follow the little homie to the point. It might be interesting if there was a way to have a guard version of him that's kind of a decoy, so that way you have multiple ones going multiple different ways and then you don't know which way to go. That way you could actually set up a true maze. Now once your base hopefully starts claiming raider lives, you can start upgrading your base more and more as they give you more resource points to give you more traps and more bricks.
You have created a death trap, and raiders march to the slaughter.
But I also like how when somebody dies, you don't just see where they died, you also get to know what exactly killed them. You can also go to your control room and watch the replays of people who died and the people who completed it, so you kind of know where the paths of least resistance are and where you may need to add additional defenses. Which I think this creates a fun dichotomy between the raiders and the base builders. And while I lean more on the raider side, I know there's a bunch of Mario Maker nerds who are probably going to eat this up and create some amazing bases. I did enjoy playing a lot of the brutal maps in the beta, and it felt amazing when you were able to conquer some incredibly challenging base, even if it took hours to do.
I'm late at nerds.
After a while, it also seems to give preferred maps that seem to be made by dev teams, and these give way more rewards for completing, and they usually are made in unique ways as well. It seems like a lot of people's first reaction for these bases is just to create these hell halls, which after doing a handful of them can get a little rough. I'm more impressed when people are able to create misdirection and divert your attention in different ways. There was actually a couple dev maps I played where they were completely open, which was kind of a unique take because there was just so much to run around and do and enemies all over. The problem with these though is once you kind of clear out a lot of the enemies and the traps, it's a little easy to escape at the end, as you can just go to the outer perimeter and walk around. Now while I do think this game has potential to generate a cult-like following, I did notice there are multiple currencies which can be concerning, and some of the prices to unlock things seemed a little steep. However, that might have just been a beta thing, but also I'm sure they want to encourage you to keep playing and keep grinding and just keep being in the economy. I am also hoping they might add more traps and guards and variants over time. I think that'd be something interesting to help keep the game alive for a longer duration. I also kind of want more aesthetics. Their previous game Dead by Daylight kind of has a marketplace where you can buy aesthetics, so I have a feeling they may do something like that. And I would love to see different variations of bricks you can use. Most of the game is kind of this brutalist industrial post-apocalyptic style, but I would love to see things like a jungle theme or like Egyptian tombs or things like that.
I got caught on the wall, are you kidding me?
Now there is cross-platform play, so if you build something on a PlayStation, you can go against it on PC and whatever. Dead by Daylight does the same thing. The only issue is they don't have cross-saving, which I wish they did. Now I'm actually not going to give this game a proper score yet because it isn't fully released and I don't know what the price point is for this game yet. That being said, this game is super fun and quite enjoyable. I'll probably try playing it on stream a couple times if I ever get that set up. Not sure if I want to do Twitch or YouTube yet, so let me know in the comments what you think is a better platform.
We go over here, we go over there, you die. That was a lot of stuff.
This game is going to be released on April 4th for all systems but Nintendo. And let me know what you think of this game. Do you want to build bases? Do you want to raid more? What looks more appealing to you?
Ew. Okay, I get what you're doing here in Newcastle.
This game is super fun and enjoyable if you love FPSs, puzzles, and base building. And this game could be an amazing pickup depending on the price point.